You need to put this on close to your mouth. And then turn it on. Yes. Top is the original, but done by the committee. I know. Good job. Yeah. It's lit. I assume it's on. See the. Yeah. I see you. Oops. I got it, thanks. What are the keys? There's your keys and all keys.
These are all the forecast. I don't know.
Oh. Where'd they come from?
They give it to me by the list. She said, here you go.
Oh, okay. those are the restrooms.
Same room.
No, the campus coming to they're not in. It's a bar for the handicap thing. So. Spreadsheet is for the hard one. Yep.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
You got it. Like, really well. Okay. Keep the speakers are going crazy here. It's 6 o'clock. And I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I still move.
Second.
Motion by Judy, second by Todd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's stand and say pledge of allegiance. You have your computer. Says unmute here.
Should be muted.
Mute.
Thanks. Let's have feedback.
See if this works. Very system. Okay, next up is public comment. We started with that last week. Did not have been very much about letting people talk. I've been a lot of meetings when we weren't allowed to talk at all. And so we want to let people talk, but we need to have order. And I do a very good job keeping order. So what we talked about back in January, put on our agendas for a while when I was making the agendas was the kind of the rules. And that got, the auditor refused to put that on there. I've tried, and then we'll do it. So anyways, we're kind of go over what we discussed back in January, and we're trying this to try to give people opportunity to talk. So what we need to do though is public comment. We're going to one at a time. Please come to the podium, say who you are, where you're from. Make your public comment, be respectful of everybody. We don't want to put a limit on time anybody, but be respectful. We got to have a meeting moving. Okay. So make your public comment and then we'll go on to the meeting. Now, something Todd and I are trying to do on an agenda item, what we talked about back in January, when we get to an agenda item, we have to have order. We're going to try this, but if there's a motion on the floor, we have some discussion. We will open. That has an idea pertaining to that item, not something else. Give us your ideas, what we might not have thought of, and then we'll close that and we'll discuss the vote. So we're trying to let people have, if they think of something we haven't thought of before we vote. Now, if we can't have order, we might not be able to do that. But we're gonna cover. So, no cursing, be professional. On a normal business items or normal items, I'm not gonna stop on our normal items and it's just to help us on agenda. If you think of something that's on the agenda we haven't thought of before we vote. That's what we kind of talked about in January. That kind of summarize that. We're trying to be open to everyone having a chance to speak. But we've got to conduct ourselves professionally and keep moving and be productive. So that's what we're gonna try to do. So right now, if you have something to say, please come up to the podium and say that, and then be respectful when you're done, and we'll do that until everybody's done. So go ahead. Get a public comment.
Tom Wagner. I see on the video last week, there's some discussion about the state of Iowa laughing at this county. At least they're seeing the county trying to fix some things that have been wrong in the past.
Can't understand you.
Speak up, just
Some things, excuse me, some things that have been done wrong in the past. And as far as the minutes, I don't care, the best intent, it's not gonna come across 100% accurate. I've had that happen to me in 2016, making a presentation of materials. And so I came back the following week to clarify it's an honest mistake. I've had a local radio station coin a name on me just because I presented the facts. I've also had, in 2020, I read the health department from this building, had a PDF on that radio station's website, and they couldn't do this because of code, and they had the code down there. Or no, they said Iowa code. When I called up and asked her, she couldn't. I said, that's not correct. I said, what is the code? She wouldn't give it to me. And so that was totally false information that was given out to the news media and published. And so I contacted an individual with that radio station. And I said, do you people fact check? Well, they came out later on that evening or the next morning. They had it changed, but they don't put down, we repeated it wrong. So anybody that reads that the first time, that wrong information is embedded in their brain, period. And the same thing can happen no matter what the intent on the meetings, the minutes of the meetings. And thank goodness there is YouTube now of these meetings, so you can go back and see what was said. I've had a supervisor tell me about, and I brought that up in a meeting here earlier this year. The engineer told him, well, we're gonna go out with this one-way disc and rock that's 11 foot out in the shoulder, and they're gonna get it. They're gonna take it up the forest slope and then onto the shoulder. And I said, you know, I don't think anybody in this county can walk on water. And that's the only way you can accomplish that task. So there is bad information that has been stated by past supervisors, and it doesn't come up in the minutes. Thank goodness for YouTube. You can actually see what has been said. And as far as the laughing stock of this county, I get involved in the road construction industry, and I have for many years. There's been comments made to me about the 3.36 million, whatever project M63 was. And I guess there's rumors about, oh, it looks like it has measles or psoriasis because of something I did. All I did was point out the wrongs, and it took months to keep talking about it before something finally got done. Now, why does that happen? When you pay somebody $10,000 a month, are they not to be held accountable for something like that? In the last minutes, there's something about a county road that reshaping one intersection because the profile wasn't right. It didn't even come down in the minutes when I stood right here at this podium with the plans signed and the statement that they were drawn up by the engineer, signed by the county supervisors and the president of the supervisors at the time. He didn't want to hear anything of what I had to say. And the proof is right. I gave everybody a copy. The proof is right in front of them, but yet there's denial. Now that's a laughing joke. There's people that know about that in the industry, and I don't think that project was put up for any award this year at the Asphalt Pavement Association of Iowa. On that job, I said, is there going to be testing done? So there's no testing. We don't know what it was like on the base material, and we don't know the limits because there were areas that were maybe 2 foot, maybe 2 foot long, 4 foot long, maybe some of them 6 foot long. So I think the debate you've had on the minutes, there's a lot of people see things differently. But no matter what the intent, how good the intent, things just don't always get portrayed properly. And I'll guarantee you, I've got photos, I've got emails that I've written, and I've got proof of the meetings where I came back to go ahead and correct what somebody misinterpreted in those minutes. Thank you.
Well. Brad Richardson here in Miranda. First off, I told you before the meeting, but thank you. The minutes are, in my opinion, much improved and follow what the code says should have, so that we can understand what you voted on. I would also like to call out myself because I didn't abide by the code last week, and nor did anybody making public comments. We all were allowed to talk way too long. And I'm asking this board to look at Potawatomi County has rules that are posted regarding public comments, and public comments are not required by code to be recorded. So they have theirs at the end, and while this is going on, the minutes are done, given to you guys or their supervisors, so that they vote on the minutes after the public comment is over. So that we don't have this delay of what's posted or what's not posted. You can make an objection right then and there, but I would like you guys to really, and lady, to look at what some of the other counties are doing and saying, you know what, we don't need to recreate the wheel. It's out there. Let's get control of this so that we can move on and do the county's business. So I want to thank you for that. And the only other thing is, as I was reading the Montgomery County minutes, and I guess the pipeline issue is going to be up tonight, their board chairman made it very clear that it was not a county issue, it's a state issue. He made it extremely clear. So he wants them to stop wasting their time up in Montgomery County, talking about something that doesn't need to be talked about here. If we want to talk about it, we can all go to the state and raise our objections at there. But again, I thank you for last week, and I'm going to keep mine to 3 minutes because that's what the minutes are for Potawatomi County. Thank you.
Hi, Kim Tudor, Essex. Just a quick question and request. Is there any way we could get somebody to look at the system in here so people can hear both online and in the room? The acoustics are very, very bad. And I mean, even sitting here, it's hard to hear what's being said. I couldn't understand the whole part from the beginning. So if there's any way that could be looked at, I think people would appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm Jan Norris from over the border in Montgomery County. I live in West Township in southwest Montgomery County. I am on the agenda to talk about the pipeline safety meeting that was held in Des Moines last week, but my comments right now are about something else. So I wanted to give you an update on the Iowa Utilities Board. Last week, they held their regular meeting and a status conference. There has been no evidentiary hearing scheduled yet. They're still evaluating their options. Some argue that 30 months has been too long already, but the other lawyers argued that they should take a little longer because a fall hearing would be in the middle of harvest, and that's not equitable to the farmers. And they also are pushing for them to wait until the PHMSA rules come out before they issue a permit. And I talked to the landowner this morning, who called to tell me that the, land agents that he's talking to are telling him that they're getting real close to being done with it. But I'd like to remind everyone that no permits have been issued. There's 5 states involved. No permits in any one of the 5 states have been issued. There's no Army Corps of Engineers permits that have been issued, and there's no DNR permits. The DNR has not issued permits either. And no hearing date has been set, so we are not anywhere close to being done. And I was at the Board of Supervisors meeting in Red Oak Tuesday, and what the chair said was incorrect. And I will demonstrate that in my comments from the PHMSA meeting shortly.
Lucky for me, I don't need the microphone, I'm really loud. So
Can you say your name?
my name is Ann Dalkey Taylor, that's D as in dog, AHLKE, then Taylor. Dalkey's harder to spell. Last week was interesting, to say the least. But after the meeting, I had a visitor to my work. Somebody who's not on the board, but who I think felt like he was speaking for somebody on the board. And I was not real appreciative of it. So Ryan Yurkowski, which I'm sure, I think that's how you say his name, I don't honestly care, came into my work and accused me of calling him a name, a coward, when it wasn't even me. I mean, I know that all of us good-looking Rubenesque white chicks look the same, but it wasn't me. Although I will say this to the person who did do this because of this meeting: you are a coward because you waited for my husband to leave. You waited for me to be away from all male staff members before you came to get so close to my face that your spit ended up on my glasses. So Ryan Yurkowski, I know you're listening. Come on in again. We're going to ban you. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much.
Anybody else?
Hello?
Hi, Kaylee Langrell, Summit Carbon Solutions. I'll make this quick. I just wanted to let you guys know I am here if you have any questions after the meeting. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. She's from Summit Pipe. You hear that? Anybody else? Her name is Kaylee. Yeah, Kaylee from Summit Pipe. Okay. Anything else? Like an auction here. Good, we'll go on. Very good. Okay, we're good. And JD, that's your update? Oh, yeah. Right out, I don't know.
Good evening, JD King, Page County Engineer. The update came out to the board Tuesday evening. Tuesday was a big day, so blades are out in the districts. We were hauling rock with 2 trucks and we're hauling dirt with 2 other trucks for the northeast part of the county. Reworking an intersection that will be part of the J Road project, which is left next week. The spray patch crew is working on the west side of the county. We got one more running again on the pavements. And we've did a one call down on Teak Avenue where we're gonna do our blade instruction in the field part. There's a classroom part and then there's a field part. And so we're ready for that. The John Deere skid steer was delivered to the shop, and I saw the John Deere tech working on it today. Our mechanics are hanging conveyors on a couple of tandems. This will help us with edge rut, bringing material to, the shoulders. The steel's in and so we've fixed, or people over in Gravity have fixed the belly dump doors. We'll put them on this week. You know, I still have a tandem. Number 8 motor grader did 1,000-hour service. Our bridge work continues. In Essex, they're still forming, putting on overhangs, working on the bridge ends and the diaphragms. And it's moving along slowly, steadily, but slowly. Down on 280th, they've been forming on the rail, the open rail on the bridge, and we'll pour the last of the bridge concrete tomorrow morning, early on both open rail. There's still more concrete to pour on the approaches, but this will be all the bridge concrete. Yesterday, Tuesday, a gentleman from the DOT came by and did a Title 6 review with the road department. There's a couple forms to fill out on the agenda. I'll come back to those. We had an employee benefit meeting up here Tuesday afternoon. And also Tuesday during the day, we had a couple pieces of equipment at the static display sponsored by the library. The fire department was here, the ambulance is helicopter. And so there's a civic thing. Getting back to the questions for the update.
Had one on that, this is on there, with the signs in October.
I haven't called the guy yet. I haven't called him yet. Done on my list. And I did hear from Schilberg that he's gonna start making, he's gonna quit making his asphalt stone for whatever project that was. They're gonna start making the Surrey Road stone. And once they get some of that up in pile, we're gonna look at the gradation, see if that'll work for us.
Have you run by him making 1-inch clean?
Right.
They
I
charge for
sure-
that, that's what we're gonna do then?
I haven't. I've sent Schilberg's gradations.
From the 1-inch clean?
Right.
So
And
give us a bid on it.
Morris Quarry has 2 1-inch projects. They got a 1-inch clean and they got a 1-inch that they use for surface and all.
Yeah.
Let's go back to
Are we still,
Title
going
6.
are we still going to the quarry at some point? Touring, or is that still on the table?
that's still open.
I think it'd be good to.
We have a morning meeting the first week in July that,
Talking about whenever we want to do it before they're done.
right. And they'll be crushing right sometime on our roads.
As long as they're not done, we can still do something if we don't do it. We could call a special meeting on the Prairie and an agenda if we need to go look at it during the morning sometime. If they set up something, we can go out there and have a look while they're in the process.
Yeah.
Before it's too late and they move the pressure, so.
If we could turn our attention to the Title 6, there's 2 documents here. One's from the US DOT. And there's a signature on page 3 for the chairman. And then there's also Title 6 document agreement assurances from the county to the Iowa DOT. This is boilerplate stuff. Title 6 comes out of 1964 Civil Rights Act, non-discrimination and all that. It's so we can continue to receive our federal aid money. So the paperwork we have is old, needs to be updated. That's why I came by for a review. It wasn't based on a complaint. But we do have Title 6 in place because we've left federal aid projects in the past. So this is just renewing that, and there'll be one more document that I'll bring before the board when we've got it put together. But Right now, I need a motion to adopt these insurance agreements and authorize the chair to sign for.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor to, do the first one, or we're doing the,
You can do them however you want, one at a time or both together, doesn't matter.
need to say what they are we're doing, so you need to, do you have the wording in front of you?
Well, make a motion that we sign and approve the DOT order number 1052A. That clear enough?
I think so, it says what it is, so. So the motion and the second is to approve US DOT order 1050.28. Okay, any discussion on that? Any from the public? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's sign that. Okay, the next one is,
Second.
we have another one here, it's the non-discrimination agreement with, we want to call that
The Iowa DOT.
Iowa DOT. That's a US DOT, this is the Iowa DOT.
Yeah, so I make a motion that we we sign and approve the Iowa DOT Title VI non-discrimination agreement.
I'll second it.
Okay. So the motion was to sign the Iowa DOT non-discrimination agreement. Discussion on that? Public? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With that done. So I'll sign those.
Thank you.
Remind us what the county's goals are on the asphalt around the county. I know this wasn't an old business right now, but those are here.
That got probably paving. Well, refresh my memory, JD, we'll just give the dates out from your memory. Because we've been talking, it's gonna come up here in a minute. As far as the putting back the road through ground up, right now, J55 is what year? 2025,
2025,
and then J53 is 2027 now.
correct.
One up here in this summer.
J Road is getting done
The
this summer.
roads will be let next week. We anticipate working on it this winter.
This
Summer and
summer.
fall.
J55 is supposed to be included in that, but they did raise the cost per mile of hard surfacing, which cut how many miles we could do. And so that's what we're trying to find money to speed that back up. Is that a sufficient update?
So right now, what's that highway called?
It's called J
J
Road. It's 5.5 miles. 2.5 miles on the county line, 3 miles on the Page County.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we've got Jan Norris, and with, should define PHMSA. Well, tell us what that stands for, Jan.
Yes, I'm Jan Norris from Montgomery County, still. PHMSA stands for the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. So there was a 2-day meeting in Des Moines last week that I attended, and bear with me, there's a lot of information that was shared over the 2 10-hour days. And so I'm just going to read to you some of the notes that I took there. It was very well attended. There was 250 people in person and 850 online. There were state legislators, some county supervisors, EMS directors, many industry experts, and over 150 concerned landowners. The purpose was for PHMSA to gather information to help form their rulemaking. Multiple panels were presented with a variety of experiences and experts as well as audience Q&A. The meeting spanned over almost 2 10-hour days and a lot of content was shared. The meeting was recorded and a replay will be available within 2 weeks. The audience was encouraged to submit statements on the PHMSA docket. It became apparent quickly that this was a very necessary event to be held. There were more questions than answers, and PHMSA appeared to be sincere in their pledge to be listening and will be taking back things they learned for further consideration. Panelists were not eager to sing the praises of CO2 pipelines, but had a lot of concerns. The following statements were made at the meeting that I took down in my notes. So they're unbiased. They're just the statements made in the meeting. Can you hear? You can't hear? Oh, am I too close? I was afraid maybe I was too far away and it would. Okay, we'll keep trying. Okay, PHMSA stated by starting off the meeting by making it clear that their top priority is to listen. The agency exists to protect people and the environment, and they oversee the safety, design, construction, and maintenance only. They recognize how vitally important the need to significantly strengthen the CO2 pipeline rules are, and their Mississippi rupture investigation resulted in notice of violation and advisory bulletin for proximity and modeling. They said over and over again, they have no siting or permitting authority. Routing is the state's responsibility and land use decisions are local. PHMSA knows setbacks are a huge issue, but they don't regulate them. The Federal Energy Commission regulates the oil and gas, but not CO2. There are 3 different levels of carbon dioxide transport: a gaseous state, a liquid state, and a critical state. Then they shared some updated rules that I'll let you read in the report that I gave you. They talked about the future. The Department of Energy panelists said an additional 30,000 to 60,000, maybe even 90,000 more miles of CO2 pipelines could be coming. Just for reference, the current interstate highway system in the United States is only 47,000 miles. We talked about construction. Most operators inspect 100% of their wells. It's kind of an industry standard. The science of building pipelines are the same regardless of what the pipeline's for. The welds, the steel, the geohazards. What must be considered is what's transported and its limits. Even though pipelines may be more safe, the consequences of accidents are greater. After operation, the state and PHMSA conducts audits for integrity management. They will issue enforcement actions for infractions, and the PHMSA representative said that last year was a peak year in penalties. They were asked, what if rules change in the future? It only affects new installations not already in the ground when the rules are issued. Some of the highlights on how CO2 pipelines are different than other pipelines: they're different in scale and scope. The proposal is for massive pipeline network, like a wheel, a hub and spoke. There's a massive global effort, and its context and complexity has never been seen before. There are sources of CO2 that are different and complicated. Most carbon capture and storage is single source currently, as with the ethanol plants, but as we move forward, it will have multiple sources, increasing potential for contamination. This is a new risk. It is difficult to ensure safe operation of CO2 pipelines. The difference with CO2 leaks is that these pipelines have geographic risk. There's hills and valleys, interaction with topography, terrain, weather, and temperature. The consequence is different. CO2 can kill you, your livestock, and things below the Earth's surface, and there are many gaps in regulations. Since majority is used for enhanced oil recovery, there are massive geologic storage concerns. Pipelines versus other transport like truck and rail were discussed. There is lower rates of incidents. That doesn't mean they are safe. There are still failures, and pipelines have catastrophic potential. The severity is greater than by truck. Of course, Satartia, Mississippi rupture was discussed. They said it really woke them up. Dispersion modeling was not adequate. The CO2 spread was in miles, not feet. For 1,000 feet, there was frozen ice on the ground. It ruptured for 4 to 5 hours, and people were unsafe for 2 hours. 47 people were taken to the hospital, and many today are still injured. The company likes to say CO2 is harmless. and hydrogen sulfide caused the injuries in Mississippi, but that is not the whole story. Discussion was held on best response if there is a rupture. One panelist spoke of a test recommending shelter in place. Those who sheltered in place in Septatia were unconscious and injured. A lawyer who studied it said there is not sufficient research for the level of confidence for risk that we take sheltering in place. And when relying on inadequate research puts people at harm. Much discussion was held on modeling. Citizens need to know the risk and they deserve to know how to take care of themselves. PHAST modeling has limitations. They emphasize there is no good data available on CO2, and scientists need more information, like experiments on infiltration, air exchangers, and what their limitations are. Another panelist said we don't need perfection in modeling, we just need the general risk zones. People need CO2 detectors to know when to leave. Canada makes their plume modeling public on publicly accessible websites, and counties should require a dispersion model before determining setbacks. Panelists were asked by PHMSA, what is the most pressing issues? There's a whole list of them, including impurities. They can be extreme and need more research. Effectiveness of crack arresters, leak detection, emergency management response, weld resistant to extreme loads. Identify unique aspects of CO2 not well supported by the current research. Corrosion resistance is necessary for CO2. We are not prepared for a pipeline disaster, and hazmat teams might have to drive more than 45 minutes to get there. There were several discussions about the rulemaking concerns, and I'll let you read those. And a lot of regulatory gaps were discussed. Several different departments handle different regulations. There is not one oversight body. PHMSA regulates the pipeline from enter to exit, but not at capture. The EPA, or also some states like Wyoming and North Dakota, oversee sequestration. And currently there is no tracking on how much CO2 is captured and how much CO2 actually gets to the sequestration site. Of course, landowners were given the opportunity to voice some of their concerns, which included, but not exclusively, I won't read them all, but rules will not come in time to protect us, and they will build and install these pipelines before any new safety measures are imposed. They're very concerned about eminent domain being forced upon them. The company says they don't have to share modeling, but why do they allow dispersion modeling to be a secret? We need to know where the kill zone is. There's fear of no insurance when company claims we damaged the pipeline with our heavy equipment. We don't have liability coverage for that. A tile contractor reported that a rupture will travel through the tile system. It will become a superhighway for the CO2. We need to provide the local EMS with the right protective equipment and breathing apparatus. And they are being told, the landowners are concerned, they're being told, don't worry, the pipeline is the same as other pipelines, but now during this hearing, they're learning it is different. One man did the math. An 8-inch line at 20 miles between valves at 2,300 PSI is the same as a 9-ton TNT explosion. Then the dispersion cloud would be 10 feet high, 20 miles long, and a radius of 800 feet. And he asked, would you stand 50 feet from a 9-ton explosion? Summit makes fault safety claims, and the burden of proof should not be on the landowner. And it was reiterated that 78% of Iowans do not want this. There were several asks made over the 2 days, and I have them listed there, but over and over again, the fact came up that people are asking for a moratorium advisory, asking PHMSA to tell agencies to slow things down until they have their rules in place. What are the expectations for a new rule rollout? The proposal will come in the months ahead, and they will provide monthly progress reports on their PHMSA website. Comments of importance were, several times it was mentioned, this is not your grandparents' pipeline. The CO2 pipelines propose a unique risk. They had advice to counties, pass what you want and enforce it. If it's not legal, the company can file in court. Generally, states can pass more stringent rules than PHMSA can. And they didn't know why, this panelist said he didn't know why setback and zoning would interfere with a company. Another panelist urged you must insist on your own safety and do not let the company put monetary value above safety. They reiterated CO2 is different than natural gas. And they said to ask your EMS board what they are planning to do in the event of a rupture. And advised, don't let good enough be good enough. My conclusions from the 2 days are, it was an eye-opening and sobering experience for the PHMSA people, one that they appeared to take very seriously. A lot of support for moratorium advisory until the rules are made and land use decisions are local. Not a single panelist said these pipelines are great, only that more are coming. Obvious plume and dispersion modeling shortcomings were shown due to variables of geography, wind speed, temperature, and humidity. Huge gaps in conversations and communications between companies, first responders, and the public. Most counties rely on volunteer, under-equipped first responders, and that's a big concern. And some things are beyond PHMSA's authority. Local jurisdiction are the states and counties. PHMSA's authority and effort is to update the rules, not citing or routing, and it is the authority of the state and the county to establish zoning setbacks. They provided a Pipelines and Informed Planning Alliance report for county officials. And under regulating pipeline safety, it says some local governments have enacted or are developing ordinances to regulate land use and development. So that is my report, and I'd be happy to take questions if anyone has any.
Well, and
Thank you for your patience. I know it was long.
you sat there 2 days.
Mhm.
Faster, longer, 2 days, right? And talking with some supervisors, and one from Shelby County, is of them who made the ordinance that's now in the lawsuit. Can you hear me?
Kind of.
I'm sorry. It seems like we can, but what they recommended was having an ordinance kind of drafted, a rough draft of our ordinance put together that fits our county. And then if whichever way the lawsuit goes, we're ready with whatever we think is right, is what I was advised by the people who are in the suit. So don't be, if they win the suit and we can write an ordinance, that's what they're trying to decide. Can the counties write an ordinance? Is that correct?
Counties can write an ordinance. PHMSA said it over and over and over again. Counties can write an ordinance. What is happening, in my opinion, is that Summit is being a bully. And they are using something that was said in the injunction hearing from the judge as intimidation to scare counties into not passing ordinances. So evidently the ordinances are a big problem for them. They don't want you to do it.
Well, we voted to hire the person that wrote the ordinance for Shelby County. Look at our county, look at our, what's it called, our
Comprehensive plan.
comprehensive plan, and see what fits.
Uh-huh.
So we're in that process of starting that right now,
Mhm.
to see what fits. See what we can do.
My advice to you would be to get it done before September, because once the evidentiary hearing begins, you'll have to have things in place before that to make it stick. So if it's not passed, my understanding is that if your ordinance is not passed before the IUB decides something, Summit will be excluded from any of your ordinance. They won't have to abide by it.
So we'll ask that attorney that and get the
Yes, get Tim's opinion.
his
Yes.
opinion on that. So
Mhm.
that's, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And my understanding also is that it'll take, your planning and zoning commission has to put an ordinance together, a
Yeah.
draft ordinance, and then the board will have to have 3 hearings on it before you can vote on it. So all of that preliminary stuff can be done, so you're just ready to vote on it.
Yeah. Well, that's if we want to hire him to help us and get planning and zoning and whatever he tells us. He needs to look at it and see what we
Mhm.
can do and then see what we want to do. So I understand your concern though,
Mhm.
not wanting that too close to your house.
Mhm.
I do understand that. Anybody else have any comments on that?
I don't right now, no.
Yeah, there's no action on this, so,
No, no action. Judy, did you have any questions? Thank you.
okay, thank you for coming in. Okay, next up on the agenda is signing amended agreement with Farnsworth Group, which are the architects on the windows. Doesn't say that, it's our architects on the windows to design. Give us the plans for the windows, draw everything up, who's handled that. So that's there. And this agreement, we went over back in January. I reprinted those emails and stuff. If you remember that, Todd, before Judy was here. I printed off what was sent to me, and what I understood it to be in a nutshell was it's written that basically there's no, if they go over $750,000, we don't have to pay any additional cost. Now, right now, I think they might be under 750,000. So it is written right now where if it would be 800,000, we would not have to pay the 6% on that.
We still have to pay it.
I printed the documents.
What it's saying is that, right now, it's based on the projected cost. The original projected cost of $750,000.
Yeah.
But the bid came in at $701,400. There have been a couple change orders, and that amounts to $720,211. If there are no other change orders, we only pay the 6.5% on that.
Right.
Otherwise, we pay the 6.5% on $750,000.
So what we talked about then was, and I think if I understand it correctly, I'm fine with doing this as long as we say it doesn't exceed $750,000. Because the way I understand it right now, if it would go over, we have to pay more. So we have a limit to our expense right now.
Right.
Where they wrote it this way, but if it goes over 750,000, we're gonna have to pay over. I don't think we have to right now, but if it's under, it's gonna cost us more.
Right.
So I think maybe, I don't know how to word it, maybe they'd help from legal on this, did on this week. I'm fine with changing the wording, but I'd like them to add not to exceed $750,000. Like, if it goes over, because right now, that's what we have.
Right.
We have that in place, we're not gonna have to pay any extra, and I don't know whether it will or won't, but things always get more expensive when they come in and start doing it, and they find more problems.
There's usually change orders.
Yeah, so I think right now we have somewhat of an advantage in the contract to us slightly, if it would happen to when they come in here and start taking all these windows out, they find wood, rock, whatever, and they start change ordering and adding costs, we might be at 800,000, we'll have to pay more. So I'm fine with putting this in there, but I want that not to exceed what we have in place right now. So it'll be cheaper, but no more. I don't know how to word that. I would like that added, but not to exceed in there, and see if they'll go along with that. So, does that make sense? Like, we can change the wording, but I want not to exceed our original deal that we have in place.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
So I'd like to reach out to them and tell them.
You'll have to go to Carl or whoever. Right?
Well, let's see if they'll even agree to it. We can tell this. They might not agree to that. So if they don't, we got to decide, do you want to take the risk of saving a couple thousand or the risk of spending an extra 5,000 or 10,000? I don't know, 2,000. Yeah. Sorry, I won't do this, but, so that's where that's what we talked about back in January.
I'm guessing with the age of the building, we're gonna have
It's gonna be a lot of change
future
orders.
change orders coming up that they're gonna find.
It might end up being a bargain in our favor, is what I'm getting at, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm fine if we want to do it not to exceed, maybe we'll save some money, but I'm scared of the upside of what it costs if we change the contract.
You're either gonna have to sign it the way it is or not.
Or
I mean, or not at all at this point.
I can reach out and ask them that.
I can talk to them too. I already talked to them once.
Have her on the computer if you want, and we can say, well, we're fine with signing this, if it
Yeah.
saves this, but I don't want to spend anything. So we could look, I'm not against it, but I don't want to end up costing more because we signed it. I'd like to save money, but I don't want the
Right.
risk of going over.
Yeah,
We have
I
to
would
start-
think ask her, see what she says and
Okay,
reach out and.
so maybe let's ask her.
I'll talk to her, it won't be her because she's on maternity leave.
Okay,
So I can follow up and talk to the guy that I talked to the other day.
just add a not to exceed what we have in place right now.
Yep.
That's fine. Okay, well, then we'll no action on that. Is that our thoughts on that?
Yes.
Okay, no action. All right, we're moving on from flip on my papers around. Let's get the right agenda here.
Conservation.
Okay, now we're to conservation. John Swall, thank you for being here.
Josh Schwab, Page County Conservation. I'm here today because a year ago we had DNR came down and inspected the dam at Pierce Creek. We kind of put a plan of action together. We did take some bids last year, but that was for the tree removal and the armoring of the shoreline. We kind of were getting a conflict with a couple contractors because some people were able to do the whole project, others were only able to get portions. So we told them after we did the control burn, we would reopen it for bidding. We're splitting it down to phases right now. It's just going to be the tree removal. The second phase is going to be the concrete work actually on the spillway, and then the last phase would be the art. So I'm here tonight to ask if there would be ARPA funds to cover the tree removal. We've gotten a couple of bids, and I hope you guys got that email. I didn't want to say what the numbers were at a meeting because people are still bidding. But that would be the maximum of what it would be for just, this is just for the tree removal. Oh, I don't want to say that because it's so close bid, so I don't say that I did so far. I think it's not all of us.
Collecting bids right now. For tree removal, you want to know if we can use ARPA funds?
Yes,
This is tree removal around the dam. Where is this at?
it's the north side of, or south side of Pierce Creek Dam. According to DNR, along the spillway, it has to be clear 15 feet on each side and all the way down. The spillway can't have any trees. And then I've still got, I don't know if you and Judy have a copy of the DNR report.
When did they send it? Recently?
No, this was the one we got last year. And they gave us about 2 years to fix it. I can get you guys copies of it.
Well, as far as the ARPA money goes, we said this a few weeks ago, and we got to speak tonight about where the money is. I got to look at that, what we've actually voted to spend and what a committee decided to spend. I need to look at that. And I reached out to Jamie Cashman yesterday, the guy at Isaac, and he immediately got back with me. But I'm waiting on, I need to see our actual reports we filed, and have him go over with me what is actually can be moved where. And I want to know what we voted on to spend, not what some committee come up with. Because what we heard about the roads, the little update we had, serious, and the $70,000 that was spent on a boat ramp at Raft Park.
Yes.
For canoes and john boats or whatever, what's the biggest, just for clarification, what's the biggest boat you can put in there? 5 oars?
But for the one, like right in the,
By the rules of the lake, what's the biggest boat you can put in?
you can put in any size boat you want as long as you can run it not on a gas boat.
No gas motors, right? So, and no, anyway, this is a $70,000 boat ramp. I don't want, I think, I wish we'd have spent some money cutting brush instead of, boat ramp. So I'm not myself for any more ARPA money going anywhere until we see what we can do. I was on J55 today, which is the road that's 2 years out now. And tractor and hay rake and the rock trucks, tons of them. I got past, the cloud was so thick and dust. You couldn't see it. It is unbelievably dangerous. That road needs put back, and I myself am on a mission. If this money can be used for roads, we're gonna try to find what we can and take it to the roads. So I wish I could help you, but I don't know there's any myself right now. I'm spending other money. Go ahead.
So, well, is there any way to use our county department that cuts trees, and can they take trees out, or?
We have always been told since I started that counties do not share equipment. There's been other times like where we've asked secondary roads, if it comes to where like federal funds go to secondary roads, so
they can't come, you can have them as our.
And the only reason we're still going with this project was at the supervisors meeting last July, we were told by the chairman of the board of supervisors, there was $200,000 set aside for conservation.
It was actually 229,000.
And I know there wasn't a motion or anything.
There was no motion.
That's what we've been operating under, because if we knew it wasn't gonna be open, I would ask for another $100,000 in my budget.
Yeah. Well, I'm of the opinion pause. So.
I think we need to honor that, actually.
I believe we can't use county.
You can't.
It's just crazy.
Well, there's funds from lots of areas, and yeah, you can't use federal funds to.
Well, no, but I mean, you
But
can't
there's
just,
other
it's
funds.
a county park and you can't have your county roads where you go tear out trees.
Yeah, when they're
We're
working,
cutting trees everywhere else.
yeah, we maybe need to look into how, because there is rules, if you have federal dollars, you can't spend those on county projects, but there's county dollars that we pay the county departments, but so I'm in for looking into that. That's good, let's look into it. But all these things that were gone over in some committee, I was never on these committees. It was one person did the committee.
It was ARP money, it was the ARPA committee that was set up in the beginning.
With one board member. It was never voted on. So we came in and voted on things that happened. So that's not today. That's expired.
The committee looked at the time at the most necessary things that were needed in the county. And at the time, the money was supposed to be spent on infrastructure that would continue. I'll read it to you in a minute.
The rules have changed now.
I know the rules have changed, but you can't fix all of these roads, Jake, if you don't have enough money to fix all of these.
I'm about trying to, and going into that, this is not concerns you directly, but if we can jump up J 55 like it should have been this year, then we can jump J 53 2 years, and then M 56, which is terrible. It's not even on the 5-year plan. I'm not trying to fix every road. I got a plan here. If we can somehow get J 55 fixed, then we can jump our paved roads up 2 years. If we can come up with, JD's not here, have to have the number, but there's enough money in here to go along with some other funds we can try to allocate, we're working on right now, to maybe make a difference. So I'm all about cutting brush. But I don't know why the conservation board thought it was a good idea. They could do what they want. It's not my opinion on the board, but the $70,000 boat ramp, there was a lot of money spent on something that
Well, and I mean,
should not have happened.
my board didn't decide to do that, to spend our funds, we have to bring it to the board of supervisors.
Yeah, they brought it here, it is, but they brought that to the board.
And a lot of people use Rat Park, right?
Yes,
A
Well,
lot of county residents.
yes, that's fine, but brush comes over boat ramps. So anyway,
And that's something from your, DNR report that's required.
yes, and I don't.
I haven't seen it, so
No, and I've reached out to the NR to see if there's any fines or anything that we would be, that the county would be responsible for.
Yeah.
And like they said that I presented last year, the biggest thing, if the dam fails, this has all been documented, the county's responsible for all that farmland that's south of the dam, which is gonna cost more to fix than fixing the dam.
so can you take do you have anybody use chainsaws? Qualified to use chainsaw? Do you have workers
Oh,
part-time?
yeah, all of our guys do.
They do that. So in Tordon, can you just start working on a little bit at a time?
We have been working on it. We worked on it all winter.
Okay, well then,
There's still.
maybe just, is there any way to make a plan to do that? Just to keep continuing to that plan, just clear it yourself.
I mean, we could, but we're not gonna be mowing in the parks then. I mean, I've only got 4 people on my payroll pretty much. If we put all our focus on that, nothing else.
Well, maybe it's a winter time project, like you've been working on, you did in the winter, is what you did. So I just right now want to figure out where the funds are. So kind of like these other issues. We need to know where the funds are, what actually is available to dole out, however. We need to re-go over all this and see what there is. I understand you have a need. It's just we have have-tos and want-tos, and we gotta take care of the have, maybe this is a have-to, maybe we have to do this, but the want-tos need to get put to the back burner until we fix the roads, so.
I'd say if DNR said we have to do it, we have to do it.
And I mean, as soon as I find back more from DNR, then.
Bring that to
I know they gave us 2 weeks or 2 years to fix the stuff on the report. It's been a year.
Well, maybe bring us, I'd like to see those, what that says. Maybe we have it, bring that, we'll look at it and ask it, and maybe ask them what our timelines are, what we have to do, and we'll look at. We'll see all the bids come in, how much money it is.
And, can you send me that report, Don?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else on there? No action taken there. All right, we're to on the agenda there, the courthouse boilers.
And I'm going to address this.
Okay.
And I have it prepared. Yes, I have it prepared. I want to talk again about the courthouse boilers. On this issue, I'm very passionate. We have a 138-year-old building. We had a major fire December 11th, 1991, and the boilers were put in before the fire. I worked alongside the architects, the contractors, and the subcontractors, and everyone in putting this building back together. I worked on the $875,000 bond issue to restore this beautiful building along with a number of other people. And I didn't even care whether I was reelected, which it didn't matter, I was. However, the good people of Page County voted overwhelmingly to restore this building. Altogether, we spent over $1 million to restore it. And I'm not willing for it to be destroyed again by 30-year-old boilers, by having to close down because we don't have heat, or God forbid, we have frozen pipes. It's just common sense to get this done now while we have the ARPA funds to do it. We didn't restore it to lose it. You may think I'm being ridiculous, but it's ridiculous not to attack this problem immediately. $208,173 seems like a very small price to pay for this magnificent building. And I realize it doesn't mean as much to you as it does to me, but how do we serve the people of Page County if we have to close because we don't have heat or air, or we have frozen pipes destroying it? If the next boilers last for 30 years and we pay $208,000, that would work out to be $6,939 per year. Jacob, I want a one-word answer and nothing more. When your old home furnace failed, did you replace it rather than having your family freeze or have broken pipes? Did you replace your furnace?
Yes, I propose.
Okay.
And who
You-
said, since you asked me a question, who has said if it breaks, we shouldn't fix it? I've never said that. And I would also like, since you stopped, how do you know how much this courthouse means to me? You said.
I'm just saying. Anyway, whatever. I know because lights don't get shut off and everything else, but anyway. And Todd, is Pella proactive on issues of equipment and machinery? Or do they wait until everything stops working and the plant would need to be shut down before they consider replacement? The original ARPA committee felt the boilers were a top priority for replacement, and that's why they suggested designated money for the boilers along with the windows. And just an aside, the windows were not replaced when the courthouse was restored. The supervisors at that time didn't feel that there was enough money, so they were not replaced. They're leaking, they're falling in, some are nailed shut, some are caulked shut. So it's a good thing we're getting that done. I talked to our former maintenance person who worked with boilers for many years. As of this last winter and probably before, the boilers would not work with only one. They will not heat the building. Boilers call for 180-degree water temperature to heat the building. If it's 30 degrees outside, the water temperature only reached 125 degrees, running both boilers. It's not enough. At last year's inspection, the boilers failed because they are no longer up to fire code, while still toward the end of their life and have a high probability of unplanned failure. Our system is supposed to be redundant, as you've mentioned, Jacob, but it doesn't work with these boilers that are over 30 years old. They were built to be redundant for new boilers. We're limping along right now. Realistically, if they were operating like new, they would be able to get to 180 degrees with one boiler. We can't even reach it with two boilers running. And this is what Justin from Siemens told you. One boiler might keep the pipes from freezing, running at 50 degrees, but that's not warm enough to work in. With new boilers, one boiler should be able to handle most of the winter. The boilers are over 30 years old, put in during the 1980s, and I was here. There are very few functional boilers running in a building like ours, the size of ours, anywhere. Most businesses seem to be more proactive than we are. 20 years old is even iffy, and people should have a replacement plan in place at 20 years. If one boiler goes out, we're looking at the 50-degree building temperature, just enough to keep the pipes from freezing immediately. When the quote was given in February, boilers were available. And I've talked to Justin, he wasn't sure that they would be available, but there are some available. And he also was worried about whether we even had time to install them before winter. We would have to be down for a week and a half to 2 weeks. He did text me on Tuesday and he told me that he had talked with his install team and the boiler manufacturer, and they think they can get the project done this fall before winter. Lead times are 5 to 8 weeks right now, so we need to move now. And Siemens is willing to honor the quote of $280,173 until July 1. I asked about other companies providing cheaper boilers and Siemens doing the controls, as you had suggested, Jacob. Siemens is a worldwide company, and if you think about it, they have many suppliers and can reach out to them more than a small company can do. Maybe the smaller company can get cheaper boilers, but they may not be good ones. Also, the price should reflect the larger company getting a better price. The controllers are also completely out of date, having been put in right after the fire in '93. So they are 30 years old. It's incredible they're still running. Before the fire, we did not have central heat and air. We had the radiators in the offices. We had one thermostat in the courthouse, and it was in the auditor's office. We had 31 air conditioners hanging out the windows. If the controllers die, we have neither heat nor air. In talking with Siemens, there are several steps that need to be taken. They've reached out to see the boilers are available. They'll see if is there availability to install in the fall, and it looks like there is. The system will be down a week and a half to 2 weeks. The controller will still work the air conditioner as long as it doesn't fail. If the boilers fail, we are toast. There is no installing in the winter. We'd have frozen pipes and other unimaginable things. You may not believe me, but I had a Page County resident who has been in the heating and cooling business for many years also talked to Justin at Siemens. He's read my statements and agrees with everything Justin told me that I'm passing on to you. We have the money to pay for the boiler now. And I'm going to read from the original ARPA funding, even though it's changed now. The original purpose of the ARPA funding was, quote, investment in critical infrastructure because it is a non-recurring expenditure that can be targeted to strategically important long-term assets that provide benefits over many years. That comes straight from the GFOA, American Rescue Plan Act guiding principles. This is what the original ARPA committee budgeted, as you can see on the spreadsheet. Long-term good for Page County. This money should not be used for disposable rock. I know our roads are bad. I know Jacob promised to fix roads, but he didn't know the costs or the facts when that promise was made. We need to take steps to address those issues, but not with the ARPA funding that should be used in a more suitable manner. And if you want to talk to the person about what I've said tonight, he's here and he will verify everything I talked to Siemens about.
As far as the funding goes, funding is really what we're talking about.
Well, we're talking about the boilers failing.
Yes, and the boiler's failing, but hold on, there's two facets to it. Now, since the rules have changed, ARPA money's been opened up, and we can use it for basically anything. I also asked, and I would like to have all of the local option sales tax money, because there's been money set aside for years for windows. I voted on all this, windows and it's in savings. We got those totals a while back in January. Whatever it was.
In your budget.
Yeah, need to look at that again and see how that's updated. I'd like to see the updated form. We're going to new fiscal year here. It's going to happen here in a few weeks. I would like to see the updated form, because if there's dollars that are allocated to the courthouse, spending on the courthouse, we spent with the windows and the tuck pointing, what, $1 million in the courthouse? I voted for that. We've spent a lot of money in the courthouse. To act like we've not spent any money in the courthouse.
I'm not saying that, I'm
$1
saying,
million.
but if you don't do the boilers, it can all go to trash.
Yeah, nobody's against fixing a heater that doesn't work, but I went down in the basement and crawled all over those things with the guys, looked at, and I've talked to Justin Siemens several times. So to say there's no concern is false. I did not replace my furnace in my house until it broke. I did not say, well, it's 20 years old. Bring me a new furnace today. I did not make that phone call, because it made another 10 years. So yes, we need to look at it, be proactive, maintenance it, watch it. The guy, I did also hear from the guy who takes care of the hospital and who takes care of the schools, the new boilers, they have so much technology, they're ridden with trouble. And he said, you probably will have more issues with those than the old ones. And I said, well, can we put new guts in the old one if we're not gonna have issues? Just like on semis and all these things, after 2012, they start putting all this EPA stuff on there for death. And you ask, we have a semi we just got rid of, it's costing us a fortune. And people are taking old trucks and putting new engines in them to keep them going, because it costs a lot less to keep them going. I understand business, I understand taking care of things and understand fixing things. I don't probably, I don't know, you'll talk about equipment, take care of equipment. I have quite a bit of equipment. And so I understand that. I understand your point. I'm responding to your point. So anyway, if we have dollars that are set aside to spend only on the courthouse, if those are in the budget through sales tax, or there's courthouse fines in the budget too for expenses. If we have the dollars, I talked to Justin, he said, really, You can do pieces of this. The controller, in my mind, with all the discussions I had with him, the computer part of it, he said, that's really the part that probably is the most to worry about, is getting the computers, if it fails, we don't have a computer to work. So anyway, I'm open to talking about this. I have no problem with that. I've been talking with him a lot. But if ARPA money can be used on roads, and the reason the roads went up twice the price is with wild inflation from ARPA money. All the printing of money made everything go up. So it's kind of it's a circle. We act like it's free money. It's not really free money. It's just everything's inflated now and it costs more. So we do the best we can with it. But if we can take courthouse money that's already set aside and look at the boilers, that's fine. And the reason it's 208,000, do you remember that?
Yes, I know that, and I asked him about that, yes.
Yeah.
And he also quoted high efficiency furnaces, and he said that would not
It
be
was not-
beneficial to
It was
us.
not, he came and
So
said,
no, he's come down in price.
yeah, he did. And you know what?
Yes.
That day I said, no, 238,000. I said, no, I said, we need to bid this. And he came down $30,000. So hesitating a little bit made us money.
That's fine, but if you don't do something with it,
Well, I'm running this like a business and I'm not looking for failure.
and you're running a business that may shut down if the boilers crap out.
So we need to look into where we can spend the money from and where the real risks are. And that's good to look at. And I've been several meetings on this. I've went down in there more than once. So I would like to know before we go forward, I'm not against buying a boiler, I'm not against that. But we need to know if we can use funds from delegated money, that's sales tax money, that's allocated to courthouse expenses. I would like to use that instead of ARPA money.
I don't think there's anything in there, and you have certain percentages with the local option
Right.
tax that you have to use it.
Well, I know there's a lot of money that's for windows, and we took ARPA money and bought windows. Where's that money? It's in a savings account in that category. I would like to know that before we go any farther. Maybe it's not enough. I don't know. I would like to look at what is delegated by those percentages, if there's enough to do it.
I'd like to know how Todd feels about the boiler.
Well, I would just say that I definitely don't want to get caught with no heat.
No,
So, it's definitely important, I think, for us to be proactive, because if we do wait, I can vouch for lead times, they're probably true 5 to 8 weeks. I would like to, I don't know if it would be better to have an expert. You know, you've talked to the guy from Siemens, I don't know if he can come talk to us,
He came to you once and talked in January.
Yeah, but I don't think he ever said that the system, so what I would like to hear is, I would like to hear somebody come and say, you know, hey, I'm an expert, I look at boilers all the time. Your boiler is, you know, fine until we get something, or that it's on death row and you need to do something right now. I was.
May,
we haven't made, we're gonna go, if there's a motion, then we'll have discussion.
Mace is the person I referred to, and he has talked to Justin, so I would like to request that he be able to talk.
We haven't had a motion. Is there a motion when there's a?
I'll move that we buy the two boilers, 208,000, and the upgrade in the controller,
And use ARPA funds?
and use ARPA funds.
Not right, not yet. We have to see if we can use other money, I think.
Would you second it,
Yeah,
Todd, for discussion?
I would like to, just for discussion,
Sure.
we're not voting on it.
If you second it,
Well, I would
then
like,
you'll have to vote.
I mean, I'm fine with discussion about it. I would like to see, you know, what is there a combination of the general fund money, and if there's our, you know,
There's no general fund money for it.
there's nothing,
There's no general fund money.
we don't have a maintenance.
There is a maintenance courthouse, one. I think it's
It's-
100,000. I think.
I don't think it's that
Take a look
high.
at it. There is money in the local office sales tax, and we took a lot of money we were spending for these things, and we used ARPA money, so it freed up that money. It's still there. We haven't spent it. So I would like to see what that is. And if we use that, we use that. But I think that would free up money to go to the roads. So if we
Well, I
can
mean, I
shoot
would
it,
say that if that's.
Because we
money,
can't
and
use-
if it's not enough to cover whatever we can use out of that, then you look at, say, okay, if we can't, say there's 80,000 there, whatever the difference is, you know, we try to figure out.
One of the other things that has to be done is the fan units on all of the, in all of the fans, and all of the units in the offices are also 30 years old and they're rusting and we're having to replace those. So that's probably gonna be around 50,000, I think. So that's gonna
The
be,
other thing I'd like to see is, I'd like to see the last 5 years of what we've spent on repairs.
we're on a maintenance agreement, so there probably isn't a thing
Okay.
with that.
I just like to see
I don't
what
think
we've.
there's, I know one Christmas, I don't know, it was last year, or year before, they had to come down in an emergency and do about $5,000 worth of work. Could we let Mace talk, since he talked to Justin?
I don't know. Based on some other-
Second, then we'll go into discussion. You want to vote on it or not?
No, I don't want to vote on it. Can we?
Trying to
Yeah,
call this,
okay.
I guess, we
We
can
can't
call
have
these,
two.
well, we can call some to talk. Come on up, Mace. If we call them, tell us what you think.
Mace Henson, Shenandoah. Two concerns that I have on the boiler system currently right now. The system and the radiator system and the fan coil systems are designed to run on a supply water temperature of 180 degrees. According to Justin and a couple other sources that I've talked to, they're operating at 125 degrees. That's based on only one boiler running at just one time. Right now, you're only achieving 125 degrees with both boilers running at both times, which tells me and the 3 or 4 experts that I've talked to that there's problems with the heat exchangers that will be a catastrophic failure. When those fail, and they will, if they're doing that right now, your system is operating at about a 60% loss. And so where it's supposed to be producing 180 degrees, it's only producing 125. The fan coils are designed to push air at 180 degrees, not 125. And so every day that you're putting this off, it's costing you in maintenance. The second issue is supply chain issues. I currently am pricing out several commercial projects. I'm being told 33 weeks on commercial equipment. 33 weeks. So if you have a catastrophic failure, you're not just talking 2 weeks for the downtime to repair it. You're talking quite a bit of time of absolutely no heat in this building. So those are my only 2 major concerns after talking with Justin. So that's what I wanted to address. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've talked to Justin several times also.
So now, so you've talked to him, so is there a way that we can piecemeal this, like?
I think we need to figure out where we want to get the money. They're all about, what, one, do we need them or not? There's no doubt they're old. We need to think about it. 2, where you want to get the money from. That's our 2 things. I don't think we know where the money comes from tonight. We got to figure out where we're taking the money from. If this ARPA money can be used on roads, I want to go to the roads. If we can get the money somewhere else, we'll move, because things have to go in the category. Sales tax money, you can't just put in roads. It doesn't work that way. It has to go exactly in the category it's designated. So we need to see how much is sitting there that can be spent on the courthouse. Because we freed up a lot of money doing windows and everything else. Tuck pointing, we did all that through ARPA.
We would have had to bond if we hadn't used the ARPA money for the windows.
Right, so we did that. So we're talking about a lot less money here, and we might have the opportunity to do it, so maybe that'll be a
Do
win-win.
you think $200,000 is gonna make that much difference on a road?
Well, that'll be about, let's see what these say.
It won't even do a mile.
It'll do over a mile. I think it's 160,000 per mile right now.
I thought it was 300,000 a mile.
So it's 160,000 per mile, I think.
So you're gonna do 1 mile instead of putting boilers in the courthouse.
What's that?
You're gonna do 1 mile
We're trying to
instead of
find,
putting boilers in the courthouse.
okay, I'll say this again. If we can use money that is designated for the courthouse out of local option sales tax, that can only be spent on the courthouse. That is what I'm saying. You see, if we use that money, we can't use that money on the road. We can't. I'm trying to find money we can find for the roads and still accomplish what needs to be done with the boilers.
It's June 15th. And we have till July 1st to make a decision, and the sooner we make it, the better. It's been on the table for months. I kept bringing it up time after time after time, and you kept coming up with different excuses. You've talked to so-and-so and so-and-so. This is a building that is not a school building or a hospital building. This is a courthouse. It's 3 floors. It's a huge building. It's a historic building. Do we want to take a chance of major damage if the boilers go bad and the pipes freeze?
Now, as far as pipes freezing and major damage, nobody's against fixing this, but you understand the new boilers could fail the first day. Now, if.
Any boiler,
Let me say what would happen in that instance. If we're painting, fear is never how I make decisions. Fear is a bad way. You operate off a sound mind. Now, listen, if the brand new boiler fails, you know what would happen that day? They would bring other forms of heat in here until they got it fixed. That's not what you want to do, but you act like we're all.
nothing is going to heat this building that way, Jacob.
So they would,
I've lived here for a long time. I spent more hours here than I did at my own home for many, many years.
so anyway, so on that logic, we should have spare boilers sitting in the basement.
No, absolutely not, but we should replace the failing boilers right now.
I'm
This
not,
is ridiculous.
so where is the money gonna come? That's the question. Where does the money come from? If we can get
The
it.
committee felt it was important enough in the very beginning to say the boilers needed to be replaced. People who work here, people who live here, employees, supervisors, whoever was on that committee felt like the boilers were important enough that it needed to be done.
Do you
And
understand
it's been, I understand.
that we could get the money somewhere else? is what I'm-
No,
We can't.
no.
That's what I asked.
Why not spend the ARPA funds because they're right there?
Why not?
You can't do everything with the roads. You can't fix all the roads that are bad right now. There's no way you can fix the roads.
I'm not trying. Do you
Yes, you are.
If
You
we-
promised people that you would do it, and that's what you're doing.
If we use local option sales tax money that's set aside for this building, do you understand that could be used instead of ARPA funds? Does that make sense?
No,
It doesn't make sense.
So, okay, can we just? Here's what I would like to do, and whether we do it or not, that's fine, but I would like to see, so if there's not very much money in the general fund or the courthouse fund that Jacob would like to see, whatever is in there that we're supposed to spend on the courthouse, we take that money towards the boilers, and then we figure out what else we need to get the boilers that have to be supplemented by the ARPA funds.
whatever money's in there is gonna be used for general maintenance of the courthouse. And as I said, the fan motors in most of the units are failing and are having to be replaced, and they all need to be replaced. So that's gonna be a big chunk of money also. If that can be covered by the general fund, that would be one thing. But you can't take that money. You've got to use one or the other, and you can't spend it in both places. You don't have enough money.
Until we know what money there is, we're blind. We're absolutely blind tonight. We don't know what's in that. So until we know that, I don't want to do it. So next week,
I
let's
was
figure
just
out.
trying to say that if we have, if the ARPA funds can be spent on roads and they're really, you can spend it on the courthouse, you can spend it on roads, but the general fund is the only thing you can only spend it on the courthouse.
No, the sales tax, there's certain categories.
There's certain categories. And you approved the things during budget time. You approved what it would be spent on during budget time. You approved the local option funds being spent for different things.
And it's sitting there. We need to get that out and look at it. I don't have it in front of me, so I can't make a decision. Once we obligate this money and vote on it, it's spent. So,
Heidi,
Thank you very much. I enjoyed reading this information.
hold on, you have to go to the podium here.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Carter. Thank you for this information. I like to see the.
I did that.
financials. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I looked at the bottom and basically you have $80,000. Is that correct?
not obligated
Thank you.
by prior supervisors, which Jacob is saying we're not going to honor.
Anything that was not a motion made in this boardroom and voted on is not to be on. It's not, it's just, that's just people talking in a room.
And you're suggesting that $80,000 be put towards the boilers?
No,
No,
Oh,
that's what's left. But the $250,000 is under courthouse improvements that was obligated and not yet paid. That would be that. The original budget at the top is what was projected things would be spent for. That's how the original ARPA funds were designated when the first report was made to the federal government. And we have basically was put in for courthouse, yes.
And we've spent 700.
Well, we haven't spent it yet, but yeah,
For the windows.
we had to do some tuck pointing. So there's some tuck pointing there. They're finishing up tuck pointing. So there's the second phase, there's 163,000 that's obligated that we owe. There's some tuck pointing at the annex in the engineer's office, which is earmarked. The $775,000 for the windows is earmarked. The county park improvements was also earmarked at 119,000. And the 911 consoles, we still owe the 22,579 for that. And also the truck, the rock, the board had allocated $210,000 for that, and there's 197,000 that hasn't been spent. So that column on the right hand is what was basically obligated, perhaps not voted on it, but obligated in those categories to be spent.
I gotta see a vote. Just conversation in the room is not a vote. So we have to
It was
vote
what was agreed on in the very beginning
by a committee. So I want to see a vote.
by the Board of Supervisors. The board set the ARPA,
Anything? That's
the
fine.
board originally set the original ARPA budget that was sent into the federal government, this $2,934,000. That was what was sent on the first report to the federal government as to how the county was going to spend these funds. Then we came down and we spent, down below, you see all of those other things where the records were digitized and all of those things. Those were done with the 911 consoles, the sheriff's body cameras, other things were spent. And original tuck pointing was done, part of it. There was some lighting, we changed to LED lighting. We've done some work at the annex to upgrade that, the treasurer's office remodel. Those were things that were, the part of the money was spent. So we've actually spent $1,289,331 of the ARPA funds. And then there was $1.5 million that was obligated for other things that has not been spent.
And
Although it's not been voted on, I know.
every dollar should be voted on, and almost all that money went to courthouse. So to say we're abusing the courthouse.
No, all of that money did not go to the courthouse. No, it didn't, Jacob.
Windows, tuck pointing.
We've got the annex, we've got the records digitalization. If you want to call that courthouse, that's fine, but that's for our county residents. That's the maintenance of our history and everything else. And the lighting project was done in all the buildings.
That's fine, I'm saying we voted on that. I
The
remember.
Page County West building got money, election equipment got money. That's not courthouse. That's for the good of the citizens. The county park got some.
If you look at $1 million of 1.2 is courthouse, please.
It doesn't make you, do you want to preserve this building for history or not, Jacob? It's 138 years old. It survived a devastating fire in 91.
To insinuate we don't want to take care of the courthouse and we spend
I'm not insinuating, I'm saying you don't want to.
we spend $1 million and we're gonna look at how we can take care of
I'm
the.
not saying you.
So anyway, well. So we need to know, let's move on here. So what do you want to do? You want to do it? Judy made a motion. We had a lot of discussion.
Yes, I move that we spend,
She made a motion. We have a second for that motion. We want to vote on this.
people on the street think it's really stupid that this isn't being done.
Now, when we started this, we need to conduct ourselves professionally and saying things are stupid is not professional. So, go ahead. Do you want to second that thought or not? That's not a comment for the boardroom.
But you'll let people call me a liar. That's a comment for the boardroom.
Trying to take control here. You called me dictator and everything else. So let's just walk.
Haven't mentioned it tonight.
Clean it up. So what do you got? Do you want to second that or not?
I would like to see what money is available to be spent and then figure out how we can supplement it.
Okay.
And not take it off the radar. I think it's important. I think we need to do something before something bad happens. And you sure don't want to be the person sitting here when something bad happens.
But you may be, you may be.
Trying to do it the right way. So that, yeah, that's where I said, I just want to get all the facts before we do all that.
I agree on that. I agree with your statement. Okay, let's move on.
John wants to say something.
Just with being a department head and messing with budgets and stuff, I would just caution where if you're looking at taking this out of the courthouse's like maintenance budget next year, doing that much of a chunk all at once, but you still have a limit. It's
Right.
just say, just keep that.
Thank you, I understand that. Okay.
Thanks.
Now, we have up, next thing is. Not done here, board communication. So all I had on here was keys, and they already got that taken care of, just bathroom keys, we can lock the doors and drop keys. Things coming up. I would like to know where are all the minutes to be approved going? Where are all the minutes that we approved going to? Once we approve?
We're still talking about board communication.
I'm doing that in the communication, I guess, I'm just asking a question.
Okay, because
I don't know if anybody answered that. We don't know where they're going.
you turn them into the auditor, is that where they go?
I don't know. We need to maybe reach out and figure out where the minutes are going. Okay,
I would just have
that's all I've got.
like board communication, so we had a Board of Health meeting this morning to talk about, the Richard resignation, and last week I brought to you guys to discuss about whether there's a couple options. One was sharing with Montgomery County, versus, maybe having Candace do an interim type thing. We talked about, Richard did go to Montgomery County, and they were kind of in favor of doing a 28E agreement, and sharing with us and doing, maybe 2 days a week. There was, they would still like to have an office manager or someone there to be able to do payrolls and things like that. And Della would help with payroll for a little bit. Candace can do some of the office manager stuff. She's been training, and I think she could get some help from Della, and they'd still be able to do that. So I told them we were kind of in favor of the Montgomery County sharing as well. So I think there's more to come on that and how we want to proceed and move forward. But that sounds like it's doable with both supervising boards and Board of Health's blessing. So I guess there'll be more to come with that. The 28E might be a temporary thing, so they would like to reevaluate that after 6 months, see where we're at. I know we still have a position set up so that people are applying for work. They'd like that to continue, and then see if we get any takers or anybody that's willing to come in, knowing that in a couple of years that might go away. So. That's the only meeting I had this week, so.
Okay.
Besides our calling in Fremont County.
Yeah, we call them.
Which was illegal, and we've got to, we have to address that next week because it wasn't on the agenda.
I thought we asked about that when we were going to
It has
call
to
in.
be on your
I thought we
agenda.
asked if we should have an agenda.
It has to be on, it has
We
to
were
be
told
on
that we didn't.
our agenda.
Oh, all right, we have to have.
We have to have it on our agenda.
Well, let's put that on next week,
Yes.
then, so we can do it.
I've already,
Oh,
Okay.
We already submitted it to the agenda.
Yeah.
We're good, we'll take care of that next week. Anything else? Okay. All right, well, next up is the minutes, and on the minutes, I would like, last week heard from John in the meeting about how they used to do it, and I think it made a lot of sense. If you could kind of, while we're going over the minutes from the last couple of weeks, print off what you got for tonight, and we're gonna go over them tonight. You like that idea?
And then just vote.
And we'll fix them tonight and approve these minutes tonight also. So if you could, just print off what you can't print the minutes off. Well, for the board's minutes, we'd like to have them printed. I'm asking for the minutes to be printed or read to us anyway.
Aren't you in that position? Or just, right, okay.
Well, you're the clerk of the board. I'm asking the clerk to read the minutes. That's what I'd like on the record. Well, John's here and he's supervisor for a long time. We're kind of an impasse here, John. Would you come up and let us know what the order of minutes has been done in the past? And what, that's right?
Judy was our auditor.
I'm John Erster. And we always read the minutes at the end of the meeting and approved them so they could be sent to the people. Right away. So there wasn't a delay.
And they're accurate, we can remember everything that happened and do it right now.
It was fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
That's how we did it.
Were you ever
But
refused the minutes when you asked for them?
What?
Were you ever refused the minutes when you asked for them?
We
But
read
they
these
usually
ones.
approved what I wrote too.
Huh?
You usually approved what I wrote too.
Yeah. But I mean.
Did you ever have to fix the minutes, John? Did you ever have to change something in the minutes?
Not very often.
Did you ever have to change something in the minutes?
Well, yeah, we corrected it if we wanted something put in there.
Who do the minutes belong to?
Wasn't very often though, was it?
Who do the minutes belong to?
But we just, before we okayed them, everybody had to be fine with it
Right,
before we approved them. So we voted them.
you voted on, right, so I'm asking for the minutes for tonight so we can do that. We can go over them right here for what just happened and we can vote. on it.
I don't know how Kristen takes it.
And I think it's gonna take a lot longer. I mean, because you're gonna be putting stuff in, taking stuff out, and it's
It
not
needs to
gonna,
be done
it's not
right.
gonna
It
work.
needs to be done
It's not
right.
gonna work
not
like the
been
way we
right.
did it.
No, it's not right at all, so,
It's
I
not
think
gonna,
it'd be hard for Melissa to do it when
It's
she's
not-
not here.
it's not gonna be the way we did it because you guys usually approved what I wrote. So,
Well,
But
that's
they-
99% of the time,
Gave them good minutes.
yeah.
That does not matter.
so
We
we're,
didn't have a problem.
No.
We understood it.
I'm asking for the minutes right now of our meeting we just conducted. Robert's rules, I can't believe we can't have the minutes.
That's how we did it, so I didn't know.
So
You know, I had a lot of practice.
you're refusing,
I had a lot of practice when I did the minutes. I did them for a lot of years. Kristen doesn't have that practice. She hasn't been here that long. And I think she needs time to read, to go back over the minutes. It's not like when I was there and I could do it right then. I think it's gotta take more for her to do that.
Well, I understand Melissa's taking a lot more minutes than.
Yes,
Kristen has.
yeah. So I think.
She would be a lot more qualified to do it.
I think Kristen, she's very, very good at taking the minutes, but I still think she needs time to look over them again and revise them.
That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any
because
sense.
If she's qualified enough to be here to take minutes,
But you don't like the minutes she takes most of the time.
but we want to go over it.
we want to go over, we'll go over what's fresh in your
There's
mind.
been a lot of mistakes.
Let's talk about mistakes in the minutes.
I've took the video and went
Yeah.
back and I'm a little bit
That's all
fired
right.
up. I'm not usually a fired up person, but the minutes that you, what is this?
I'll look at it.
I don't know.
But anyway, the minutes on June 1st. So we had this discrepancy about the auditor or the ordinance making a list. You remember our conversation?
Yes, last week.
So last week you said that me and Jacob were wrong.
Let's
That we
just
were
look at
supposed-
it
Just wait
in the minutes.
just let me talk. So last week, you stated that, no, we were supposed to make a list, and I wasn't sure, so I went back and looked at the video. And when we were talking, you absolutely said, Melissa has a list of what we've talked about on a Word document.
No, I
And
did
she can
not.
send, it's right there on the video. I've made a recording of the video and I can play it right now if you'd like, but.
Play it.
I think part of the time is people are talking over people and
Now,
we don't get it.
I could give you the benefit of the doubt.
Go
that you
ahead.
Might have meant that she had a Word document.
I
for
did
the
say she had a
ordinance.
Word document.
Yes, but you didn't say of the ordinance. You said,
The change.
we were talking about the list and the changes.
Yeah,
So in that text, we all thought you meant the list of the changes, okay? Now, even if that's true about you said that she had a Word document of the ordinance and she could send that out, we both turned to Kristen and said, hey, can Melissa get that sent to us so we would have that? That never got to us until June 12th, the ordinance. We never received that. So we didn't even have it in time for the 8th meeting. Which then you told us that was all a mistake, that we should have made our own list and sent it in to Carl. And so we didn't even have the ordinance for that as well. So, but that was none of that was in the meeting minutes, except that what you said about the list, which you never even said on the June 1st minutes. It says in the minutes that you said that, but you didn't.
You
didn't
did not say that, and it's in the minutes.
So I feel like the minutes are getting rewritten
Yes,
somewhere between being published and our meeting.
and they're publishing not approved minutes, not board, and my name on the bottom of those minutes, where it says my name as chair, should not be there.
Are we gonna spend another hour and 10 minutes on minutes?
We're gonna spend however long it takes. I've never seen that like this, an FFA or anywhere. This
We
is
just
great.
can't keep doing this. You know, I try to be
No, we-
reasonable and even keeled and just try to be compromised and all, you know, but then we turn around and we get bad minutes that make everything one-sided. And I know you say, well, you guys think it's slanted. Well, yes, and if you were on that side, you would think it was slanted as well. And, you know, I just want it done right. I want the information that needs to go to the public, go to the public. I'm not here to hide anything. I totally will debate anybody about anything, but I want it to be right. I don't want it to be factual and stuff that's made, you know, be written. I don't think is factual. I think what needs to happen is those minutes need, right from the main meeting, need to come here. We can look them over while they're fresh in our minds. Like I said last week, I don't care if you have something that you said and you want it in there, I don't have a problem with that. If I have something I said that is not in there and I want it in there, as long as I get to put it in there the way I think it's supposed to be, then that's the way I want it. But to keep playing these games, whatever's going on, I don't know, but it's not right. And we can't just keep doing this every week. We've got so much business that this county needs to be doing other than playing games with the minutes.
When you read,
And it's just getting to be ridiculous.
you read Montgomery County's minutes, I've got a couple of them here. They're business facts. There's no feelings of who's name calling, who's a dictator, who's not. Let me talk about numbers, Patty. Now, quietly, don't first thing I'm doing this. Well, now what we had here in our minutes from May 4th, it says, Holmes stated he feels the fees range about wind turbines from $100 to $1,000. Let's see how this makes a difference in minutes. May's mayor has seen fees higher, will range from $1,000 to $1,500. Clark says the fees are too high, say that everything the board is doing is starting to kind of make it look like we're not wanting wind turbines. Holmes would like a $2,500 fee per turbine. Mayor agrees. The $2,500 is accurate. I looked at that whenever we did edit our minutes and strike that because that's false. Those numbers are false.
No, that's exactly what you said.
I watched the video tonight, minute 33, go to May 4th. I said, I've seen from $250 to $10,000. That's what I said. It's in the video. This was wrong. People could make errors. I get it, right in the minutes. You could mishear something, but when we vote on them, you catch those errors and fix them. Or if it's extra stuff, you don't have it in there. That's inaccurate. These are sent to the newspaper and it's wrong. And what was in there, what's gonna be voted on is wrong. It's not accurate. You want the facts? That's wrong. That's a dollar amount that's wrong. And it also paints a picture that I thought the range was 250 to 1,000 and I said 2,500. That's a false picture. 250 to 10,000, I picked 2,500, paints a whole different story. This is nonsense. And we, in every board, and I passed out to you right here. If we get in trouble with the minutes, you reach out to the IPIB. Erica Eckley, the executive director, send me an email. I printed it off for her.
She's brand new.
Okay, she's brand new, but she's the director. Okay. Well, like to read over that. And 21.3, they're in 21.3 and 21.4. When I read 331, that's the supervisor. So act like that doesn't apply is crazy. That's what Carl put in his big statement was 331. They both apply and they both say the same thing. They're not different. Please wait. Here's what she says. Just about every government body, which is what Brad wrote last week, and I'll go down to her definition. They're supposed to keep minutes of meetings showing date, time of place, members present, action taken of each minute. The minutes shall show the results of each vote taken and information sufficient to indicate the vote of each member present. Now, we stopped in our minutes last night saying information sufficient. To show, I need to read that. Not show the vote of each member. She goes on, the vote of each member present shall be made public in open session. The minutes shall be public records open to public inspection. Now, what she says, get her actual opinion here, is, here, Iowa 21.32 requires the minutes to include when, where the meeting occurred, the specific actions taken, the members vote on each of the actions. Note that the minutes need to reflect only the actions that occurred. While Iowa Code Section 21.3.1 requires that all discussion and actions taken by the government entity occur in open session, assuming there's no reason for closed session, the minutes are required only to show the actions taken and not the discussion. Nowhere in there, it's discussion. It says it, this is the head. She's brand new. I'll tell her you don't think she has authority because she's new.
I didn't
That's-
say that. I
That's kind
said
of what you
she's brand new.
insinuated. That's crazy. That's.
And I take offense at that, Jacob.
Well,
You're
that's
putting
against-
words in my mouth.
That's an insult to this lady that is the head of this department, so I don't want to insult her. So it goes on to say, it's responsible, this is the 1992 Attorney General opinion she sent me. It is the responsibility of the government body to ensure the minutes are kept. The County Board of Supervisors has this responsibility. The Iowa Attorney General opinion 1992 states, it has a whole bunch of numbers there. It's determined under Iowa Code 22, the Board of Supervisors is the lawful custodian of the Board of Supervisors minutes. The AG opinion found that the auditor acts as the agent of the board to maintain the records on behalf of the supervisors. So, under chapter 21 and 22, ensuring they are accurate and approved, which our minutes are nothing being done with our approved minutes, accurate and approved minutes recorded of the Board of Supervisors meetings, it would be the responsibility of the supervisors. The supervisors would also be the lawful custodians of the minutes and required to ensure any chapter 22 request to view the minutes were fulfilled. The auditor's role is to assist the board in fulfilling its requirements under Iowa Code 21 and 22 in maintaining the records. This thought that you have and that the clerk to the board in that role is in control of everything. And they write the minutes whether we like them or not, and they send them to the newspaper whether we like them or not. Doesn't happen in any other county in the state of Iowa. Doesn't happen probably anywhere in the United States. I've never heard nothing like it. And what they're all boiling that down to is this document I got a few weeks ago, whenever this happened, that this 82 opinion, which was quoted last week, in conclusion, about saying the auditor is in charge. It is not permissible to publish a summary of resolutions and minutes of the proceedings of the Board of Supervisors. We can't summarize a resolution. It has to be the whole thing, right? Right, I agree on that. It is responsibility of the county auditor to determine the text and format of the matters required for publication. Well, we just read what was required. Discussion is not required. So she has no authority over discussion. And I believe that we can, I thought maybe we get minutes printed tonight. We'd go over it, we'd make them accurate to the meeting, and then we would move on. But if that is not going to happen, we need our county attorney to pose a question to the Attorney General. Because if this Board of Supervisors does not control their minutes, we have a serious issue. We have a breach, we have insubordination, we have something that's not happening in any other county, and we have dysfunction at the highest level. We were all here, we were elected to sit here, and we need to have control of our minutes. They're the permanent record. We've showed 2 examples of false minutes. There's tons of places there's errors. We're responsible for them, and we can't vote on it. We can't fix it. This needs addressed. I would like to have Carl in here next meeting. We're gonna give him a couple questions to post to the Attorney General. We didn't answer. Because I'm not satisfied with what he gave me with saying the auditor, the clerk is in charge of everything. And we have no say.
And that's not right.
That's not right. And anyway, now, any other discussion? Yeah, I'm trying to finish my statement. Any other discussion on that? Heidi say something. Heidi, there you go.
Good evening, Heidi Carter. I was Page County Extension Director for many years. I always probably ended up doing the minutes. And if I were there, you'd never get the minutes tonight because I'm slow, I'm thorough, I go over everything. And it is your permanent record. And the minutes belong to me and to the people of Page County. Because that's who refers to the minutes, and not everybody races home and reads them. I think they're important, but not everybody. As an example of why it is important to capture things in the minutes, for the past 2 years, our sheriff has told the Board of Compensation, of which I am a member, that he knew in 1990 something, that it was written in the minutes that the deputy sheriffs would get the exact same pay raise that he got. And he brought that up to our Board of Compensation. And I know the auditor and other people looked through those minutes and combed through the minutes and could never find it.
That is true, though.
Yeah, true, but I'm just saying that's why your permanent records are important.
There should have been a motion on that. If it's a promise, there should be a motion.
I'm just.
Motions are supposed to.
No, that's up to the individual elected officials as to the percentage that's given to the deputies.
I'm just saying that we do want them accurate because people will go back and read your minutes And I'm very proud of the people who sit up there and take minutes during this.
It's not,
It's difficult to hear in the audience, very much so, and people talk over each other because you want to have discussion. And so I give my praises to the people who have to sit there and take the minutes, and I certainly would not print them out at the end of the evening because I would be fearful they weren't correct. And you're lucky she's doing it on a computer. I'd still probably be doing it from here.
But
So I do want to say that it is a tough job and they need to be accurate, and I'm very glad that we have the people who are doing it.
well, I have a question for you. You've done a lot of minutes. Should board approved minutes be published or draft minutes?
I don't have an opinion on it because mine weren't published in the paper. Mine were sent to the board members after I had typed them up. I sent it out to them and they approved them at the next minute, but I had to follow.
So which were the official minutes for that board? The ones you sent out or the ones they approved?
The ones that they approved at the next. board.
Yes, that's the minutes as every.
Of the public scrutiny that the board of supervisors.
Right.
That's a big difference. I didn't have to publish them, just the public notice, of course. So.
And we're not trying to eliminate any information or, because we want it right by the, you know, it just seems like we've tried to make a big, things, fix some things on the minutes and they're not getting voted on, or they're not getting published on what we vote, which doesn't seem right to me at all.
Yeah.
Yes, John, go ahead.
I don't know what you're gonna have to do. Maybe you're gonna have to go back to a meeting during the day when Melissa's at work, because she gave us the minutes at the end of our meeting. And we had all our meetings during the day. We had them at 8:30 in the morning. And Melissa always took the minutes most of the time. Not always, but we got minutes. The minutes were read at the end of the meeting and they were approved and corrected and approved. And that's the way we did it when Judy was there too. But we had our meetings always during the day, so.
Right.
And
Well, Melissa's an elected official, like we were elected, and she's full-time. She makes $70-some thousand a year. Elected people on salary can show up in the evening too, because we're doing this for the taxpayer, and we're doing one meeting a month in the morning, so I wish she'd come. I don't know if she's ever been to one in the evening, so it'd be nice if she'd come here, and then she
but
could.
she can do it, because she did it.
And if you read Montgomery County's minutes or any others, they're very simple. They look like the agenda with how you voted, is what it looks like.
I don't know how she can correct them when she's not here.
I believe what people wanted last week was more in the discussion as to why we voted on how we voted.
And I don't think.
And I think that's what you're wanting to take out, Jacob, and you're saying they're fine.
Okay, let's point out where there's half a discussion in minutes. Let's go to last week's minutes. Let's
So
see.
let's talk about discussion on the motions, because that's what they're wanting to hear, right? Not
Yeah,
all the.
not
stuff
all the-
that's In there that he said, she
He
said.
said, she said, let's put a lot, that's not in Montgomery County. I couldn't find, he said, she said, I couldn't find, it's really boring. Their minutes are pretty, they're full of information, very boring. Our minutes read like a soap opera editorial
Right.
from one side of view. It's unbelievable. I've never seen it like it. I've read
It's
minutes.
very childish, the way they're written. this last
Crazy.
week.
The minutes this last week, there's all kinds of issues. We go into all these different positions that were taken on these different issues. We had lots of debate last week, a ridiculous, crazy amount of debate, with a bunch. Well, I made a lot of responses. That's not in here. We have the one side, not my response. It's all very much from one point of view. So I took last week's minutes and here's where I'm at with it. I am fine with making minutes look just like Montgomery County, because I think they're great. I have no problem with that. I'd like to go to the meeting while it's fresh in our minds. I do not think unapproved minutes should be put in the newspaper or anything. They can be available, but they should not be published or set as the official record. I can't believe that's being done. So we had the minutes, we gotta go over 3 sets of minutes right now, not counting ones from tonight because of this craziness that keeps getting rid on the minutes. So we had the 2 from last week. Go to June 1st. You still have that from last week? You have that? The June 1st? And that's where
Yeah, I don't have it with me.
I presented those last week, and the changes that I made were the crossing out the line that says the board will make a list of changes that they want emailed to Songson, which has never happened. On the video, it says, we asked the auditor to send the changes agreed upon to Songson. That did not happen.
The auditor
Watch the
couldn't
video.
send them because you took them all out of the minutes.
Actually, they're in the minutes, because here's this document. I left those in the minutes, and I have it right here. That's where I got all the information I sent. May 30th, we left that in there, because those were things we agreed on. May 30th, I'm all right here in front of me. I highlighted the changes that were made to the ordinance that were in the minutes. We left those in there, Judy. So that's where I emailed everybody that tonight.
Yep, so we can have.
So we have, and I said, if there's something we missed, bring it up. Look at the agenda email. I sent it out. So anyway, June 1st, we gotta do something with them. These are still our minutes. We're gonna approve them. And if somebody comes after us for all this false stuff that's in here, we have done our duty. And I don't know who, I guess the auditor's responsible. I don't know who. It says we're responsible, but we can't vote on it.
Yeah,
Or they're not listening to our votes. It's unbelievable. So on June 1st, with those corrections made, let me get where's my paper out? We've got June 1st, we have June 8th, and we have May 30th.
we've lost us.
Good for them.
Well, if they're not, if the minutes we can't control anyway, what's the point?
Right.
We need to pass the minutes that are accurate, and they are inaccurate. That did not happen to me.
I move we adjourn.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what we vote.
Huh?
The voting on the minutes is ridiculous because we don't get to change anything.
We need to go to attorney.
Right.
Crazy.
Pam, Firstburg, you know, okay. You do get to change stuff on the minutes. You can ask to have it changed after they're typed and given.
We're doing that right now for June 1st.
Right,
for future.
Right, so if they can't be read tonight, and how many days do you have before you have that published?
7,
A week.
have to be sent to the paper in 7 days.
Okay,
So then we, by law, need to be doing it the same thing.
No, it never was. I mean,
So what do we?
I
supposed to do?
started doing that because it was easier for me, but
and then Melissa continued doing it
yes,
that way.
yes. You have 7
Right,
days
you have
to
7,
to
you have
send
So
them
our
to the
next
paper.
meeting, we can do it.
You have 7 days, but I believe everybody, if they want their opinion or what they stated in the minutes, you have the right to ask that the minutes reflect that. So to me, instead of bickering about it, you need to come to some type of compromise where maybe the minutes are done and you receive them via email by Friday at 4 p.m. And I don't know if you could have like a Zoom board meeting or something just for the purpose of approving the minutes so they get to the paper.
I'm fine with that.
No,
That's-
I'm just
No,
suggesting that.
they're not okay.
But my other thing is, I don't know how, I can understand Melissa has Kristen here taking the minutes. She's appointed to do that. But I don't know other than wordsmithing what Melissa can change in the minutes when she's not here.
And I don't know that she is changing
Right.
anything.
Right, but it seems there needs, it's blown up and it's becoming very, what do I wanna say?
I think we're gonna have to go to the state.
We're gonna do it during.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to go
Because
to
we're
the
not getting
state,
the
so
answers that we want.
they can come down and then everybody can be appeased. or-
Yeah, so-
Do you see what I'm saying? So, because there's confusion on everybody's part.
There is.
Sorry.
No, well, we're trying to vote and approve our minutes, they can be published, we're being told our vote doesn't matter, and they're putting wherever they want, so we need an answer, so we have no. These minutes are well, this is from more than a week ago, no, it's a week ago, the minutes on the first we can do. We're in open session and we're on video right now, so. The June 1st meeting, what I just went over, I would like to make a motion right now. My paper here to make sure I word this right, because I want to do things right. I'd like to make a motion to amend to match my draft minutes right here, which I handed out the auditor or the clerk last week, same thing. Providing they meet, all requirements set forth in Iowa code. As long as I did this right, I would like to make a motion, we pass these minutes, providing they meet code with the corrections on them.
That's the same correction. yeah.
Same corrections I handed you last week with the auditor already missed. On the June 1st meeting.
Make a motion.
Second that, okay. Got a motion and a second. We'll have to write this down ourselves. So I made a motion.
Yeah, made a motion, sir.
No, we're not discussing in minute. We don't. I made a motion. Second. It's on video, I guess. Okay, now motion second. Any discussion on that? Or? Go ahead, Brad.
I'm not sure if you and I read the same minutes as last week, but I read every motion, it was seconded, everything that was sufficient to understand what you guys, the presentations, the motions, everything that was covered under the motions that was voted. There's nothing in there about all the discussion that you and I had, and if you remember what I said at the very beginning of this,
There's a lot of discussion.
public comments are not required to be part of the permanent record. They are not required to be
Right.
published.
I agree.
So
It is
what we're doing, please don't throw Roberts at me one more time. It's not gonna work. Okay?
Hold on.
No,
You can go ahead, but I'm trying to say, you made a statement that there was no discussion in here, so before you go on, I might say, this is, here's just one I just looked at first. And Taylor gave public comment stating that, I'm just saying, that.
we're allowed to make those statements.
Right.
That's what the public record is. And again,
That's
what
not,
I said at the very beginning of this, those should be at the end. They're not for recording. They are not part of the permanent record.
they're in our minutes. That's what I'm saying.
Jacob, would you please listen instead of just continuing to talk?
Well, you make a statement, I'm responding. They're not part of the permanent record, you believe they should be in the minutes.
They should not be part of the permanent record. That's what I explained last week, that it is for the motions.
Right.
Sufficient enough to understand why you made the decision, not all this other bickering and nonsense, because that's what
I
this
agree.
is. Please stop it. Okay, the minutes. Correct. Correct the motions. Take out all the other stuff. You guys have made a motion, you made a motion that wasn't seconded. That should be part of the permanent record. Okay, people should see that there was a motion made to use these funds. There was no second. That's a part of the permanent record. Nothing else needs to be added to that. So all of this discussion that we're having right now doesn't and should not be part of the minutes. It's just superfluous nonsense that's taking up so much of your time. And yes, I read Montgomery County minutes, I read Potawatomi County minutes, I read a lot of minutes. And it goes back to what the motion was, who made it, was there a second, what the discussion was, and then the vote. That's what the minutes are all about.
Absolutely.
I'm asking once again, like I said last week, do what is sufficient for those of us in the county to understand what you guys are doing here. No more, no less. Please, it's really simple.
Okay, what you just said is true. I agree with that.
We absolutely agree 100%.
But on May 30th, Jacob, you wanted to take out, Clark has an objection to the 10,000 budget. That is why I made my decision. I want that in there for the future so that it will be there.
And you got it in there. Did we?
Yes.
But I put discussion in here because the reason I voted yes, and I said the reason I voted yes, I would, he's got it crossed out.
When I took him to the
And I said I wanted it in there.
all discussion, we voted on this, not in the minutes. So even if that is not really that big a deal, I see that. But we said all discussion, so I'm taking a pen to discussion.
We are not gonna settle this because it has to be your way or no way.
Then, so what I would say then, Judy, is then that should have been something when we talk about the minutes.
Yeah.
say, hey, I would like to have that in the.
I did say that last week.
Did we get it in there?
I don't know. He's got it crossed out.
That was 2 weeks ago. Not last.
June
Just as last week, we talked about it. And I said I wanted it left in there for future reference.
That's May 30th, when this happened,
I know.
not last week.
We talked about it last week.
Yes, and we, in January, when the minutes went crazy, we said no discussion. So when I got to pin out these things, I had to do the same for everyone. We could have no discussion, only votes, actions, dollars and cents. That's why. It isn't that that was that big a deal. Now, some things are unbelievably ridiculous. So on that, last week we talked about this. I used to do it all the time too. If our minutes can return to something normal, when we vote no or yes, if we want to say the serious, simple, not tearing somebody down to say, I vote no because it costs too much money and I want to do this, period. That's fine. Not going into some big soap opera thing where we, no, just say the fact of why you voted a certain way. I used to do that. I can see that. A lot of other counties don't go in a lot of that depth, but I don't think that's a problem. But we have to be careful it doesn't turn back into what we have right now, which is mostly superfluous. It's mostly that. So, not all, but mostly. So we're trying to get these things cleaned up so they look like they should. So, on that, we have to decide what these notes. Their comment?
Yeah.
Their comment, go ahead.
And Donkey Taylor again. I find it very interesting that when drag queens were on the record, we had to hear all about your religion, and yet there has been no Christ like, and as a Jew, I don't know a whole lot about the guy, but I gotta be honest with you. I don't think the way that Kristen was treated today and the way you were talking about Melissa and the way she has been treated is very Christ-like at all. I did a quick reference check on my phone. At no point this is not okay. You're not being good people at all right now. She has left the building because what she writes was called one-sided soap opera and childish. Please have some respect, please. For the love of all things holy, we get it. Women, second beings, apparently, our opinions do not matter. I don't know how else to put it.
That's a false statement.
Well, it's how it feels. It feels very much like the women in this room don't matter. And I bet if you ask every woman in here, they have the exact same opinion.
That is not true.
That's how it feels.
That's
If you treat her like crap, you treated her like crap.
Nobody
and you
was
treated
nobody
him-
was treated like crap.
She did not feel good about it, I'll tell you that.
Heard the order, getting our voices raised. This is.
Well, my voice is raised because you didn't treat her well at all. She didn't deserve that at all.
We need to have our composure and. Okay. So, I made a motion, second, we had discussion, all those in favor of approving the amended June 1st minutes according to that.
I want to go back. So Judy has something that she would like to add to that.
That's not-
That's not on this one.
It's May
It's
30th.
May 30th.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, yeah. And those have already been.
On the June, you wanna go ahead and go to May 30th, make a double motion?
Yeah, has the May
On
30th
that?
already been approved?
No, just make the May 30th one.
Huh?
Just do the May 30th.
I'm good, we have June 1st motion on the floor, let's go ahead and take care of our motion. All those in favor of the June 1st changes?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Hi, Nay.
Okay, so, right, we got on video. 2 yes, 2 no, let's make that public record, that's how it happened. May 30th, on May 30th, I used the same pen we agreed to when we made decisions on them to strike all discussion. I'm okay with defining a vote, so I'm okay with leaving for what Judy said about her vote. I'm okay with that. So we can leave that.
Gee, thanks.
But on the last page of that meeting,
Thanks.
it says, Clark stated caution needs to be used due to Shelby County issue. Well, we all said that. Everyone said that. So
I didn't hear it.
we all said we watched video, whatever. It's half a story. So I don't think that needs to be in there. That doesn't, yes, we all know needs to use caution. I think that's extra information. So I make a motion right now to the May 30th minutes, the only thing to take from them is Clark stated caution needs to be used due to the Shelby County issue. I just think it's extra and it doesn't need to be there. It doesn't complete the whole story. Leave in her statement about the budget. So leave it all alone. That's the only change.
Yep, I would agree.
Okay. We have a second. Discussion? Okay. You've talked a lot. No discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we approved those. So May 30th, June 1st, I'm gonna do that next week. Now, the June 8th minutes that I printed off the website. June 8th minutes. I thought were lots of extra information that was not pertinent and half a story and half a truth and half is written. It does not give a totally accurate picture. So I took and we get this done before 1 week out, so I gotta find it. Where we're gonna on the stack. We need to approve these right now if we want to. Say June 8th. First. For the enough copy for everybody. Okay. Did you have issues with the June 8th minutes last week? Here they are, right here, pull it up. There we go. Read through them here and see if there's something maybe needs to stay. I just took the same pen that takes discussion out. It's half true. There's the first. Second page.
I vote nay. Whatever. The other second page.
You want to hand me this? Thank you.
Yep.
Let's get them done. So, if you look at there, we can go over things I think don't belong in the minutes. You just gave it really good. I agree with what you said about things. We have public comments and what they feel. Public comment was made that they feel that our conduct and what we felt, and I'll just read it here. Masons and Ann Taylor gave public comment about how the vote for liquor license for Jackman's last week was conducted, and both felt the home's mayor's personal belief should not have been made part of the decision. Brad Richards gave public comment about the minutes for the meeting and how the information regarding the supervisor discussion should be included. That's all in that first paragraph. Down we should discussion be in the minutes. I don't believe it should. So it's not for the minutes. So I'm striking that out. I'm leaving. There was public comment. We can talk about saying who said it, but I don't know where you go. You don't want to put the discussion in. I left everything about the roads update. I think we should, here's some conversation. I think we can add where JD's working. I think we should do that. So everybody knows where he's working. We need to add that back. That's not in here. It has the motion we made, but just say he's working on this bridge and that road. That should go back in the future. That's fine. It says Jason, not his last name, gave a presentation on adopting home-based hiring. That's good. That's in there. That's fine. You give a presentation on that topic. We had the motion on the 2 township clerks. That was fine. Good. It doesn't have the vote in there. Seconded, but it doesn't say how we voted. That should be added. Those were unanimous.
I've got one suggestion. Whenever you can talk.
Sorry, right here. Go ahead, John.
Oh, just as far as what you want the auditor to record, it might be a good idea for you folks to turn and say, when there's something important, let's say when JD's up here. Say, I had a question. He speaks in this road and that bridge. Most of us don't understand it for sure. But to turn to the note taker and say, make sure you get this right. If you have any questions.
Right now.
Let's get this clear right now. And be mindful of that all the way through the meeting. And maybe that's a good idea. If all 3 of you were mindful of what you want to make sure to be in those minutes. To do it while it's happening.
Right, and following a scale like Montgomery County, like these other counties, would show, we talked about this at length in January. follow a template. Template is very, just, if I was doing the minutes, I would want a template that was the actions and the dollars. And anybody could take the minutes. You don't have to know how to write a story. You can just take the actions. It'd be way easier. So we go on in the minutes. And we have the motions, which that does not say how we voted. That needs to be in there. It was unanimous. 3 voted yes on those 2 motions. I'm adding right now, I'm writing on there unanimous, those passed unanimous. That should be there. Then it goes into took the tour. That's not that big a deal, but I was trying to take everything that wasn't a movement. It says I took the Pierce Creek tour. Then it says we discussed them on the ballot. I want to say minutes from last week. Wind orders were correct. That's discussion. I struck that out. Clark stated they were correct. That's still discussion. The supervisors agreed to get information from songs on the wind orders and get the thing started, get changes started. Then there I have, this is all extra. This is not motions. This is not our official meeting. So then it talks about mayor went to Board of Health meeting, Rich Mullins leaving. They talked to Candace about taking next 2 years, suggested to share Montgomery County. Clark's thought that sharing Montgomery was a good option. We all agreed that's a good option. We all said that. Again, these are not motions. These are not action. These are just discussion in the board meeting. Some of them are fine. And if we want to pick out the ones that aren't, he said, she said, I don't really care. I'm just trying to use the same pen as I go through here and not be biased. Then we go to an update. When I left, the board was Zoom with Fremont Board of County Supervisors, the time and place. That's left on there. Our motion to approve the claims is on there. And then it has the whole last of the minutes. The whole end is all discussion for public comment. All it's all public comment that was made. And so the public comment I struck out because there was only half of the public comment there. There was not all the responses made, just some of them. So you can't do that. So I struck all those out, public comment. And then it just says we tabled the minutes until next week. That needs to stay because we did that. That's an action. And then we have more public comment and comment from the supervisors at the end. I struck that and then we adjourn. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would ask you to please listen because you're saying exactly what I just said. None of the public comments need to be in there. So why don't you just make a motion to say, strike all public comments because they are not part of the official record, period. Whether somebody said something or something was left off, that need to be said, but that's what you keep adding in there. Well, I didn't say that, or I put in there, make a motion, all public comments need to be removed from this official minutes of this June 8th minute, because everything else is accurate.
If we made a motion and voted on that.
Which is what I said last week you should do.
No, listen, Brad, we already did that. We made a motion to.
No, you took a pen and say, I'm gonna use the same pen.
No, hold on. I can find the minutes. In January, we made the motion you're talking about.
Oh,
To
was it?
strike, I know you were, but I'm just telling you, I can find the motion. We agreed to do the minutes of what you're saying,
I'm not
and they're not
talking-
being done.
Okay. Talking about what is my firsthand knowledge of this, the last 2 meetings. And the fiasco needs to stop.
It does.
You guys take control of it, stop arguing and bickering and say, here's what it is. These minutes should be able to be approved without making someone feel like her only option is to leave the building.
Exactly.
Okay, she did what she thought was the best, and I think she needs to be commended for that. Period. You guys now have the ability to amend the minutes, which is your job.
Yes.
Take a vote on it. And then adjourn this meeting so I can go watch my grandson play ball.
Me too. I wanna go. So here's the thing. Let's finish this and I'll make another motion. So I handed out everything and we struck all the public comment, all that stuff and left all the official things. I'll make the same motion I made earlier to make sure we are doing it right. Make my second motion here. I make a motion to amend the May 30th, no, not May 30th, June 8th minutes. From the meeting on June 8th, with the correction presented, provided any all requirements that will not. I want to make sure we leave anything needs to be there.
Why do you need code?
Please don't.
The reason I'm doing that is because we're stepping out into.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You are trying to bring more problems in. I wish I could go up there and make the motion for you.
I move that all public comments be removed from the June 8th.
That's
meeting.
coming in a minute. That's not in our motion on the minutes. We have to pass the minutes so we can make another motion. So we have to do this motion first. And so I've got a motion on the floor to pass these minutes with the correction I just handed you from June 8th. And I like putting in there, providing me I would go to make sure I'm not, if I mess something up, then that is strike it. But as long as I did the correct code, I think I did. I make a motion to amend the minutes from June 8th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, last discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Thank you. So we have 2-1, like the record show. Yes, yes, no. Now, I'll make another motion to adjourn. I make a motion, I'm pretty sure we've already done this in January and been ignored by the author. I make a motion, we strike all discussion from the minutes.
Second.
Okay? Bethany?
I got a question.
Yeah.
What happens if after motion, you guys have a discussion that is legitimate? You are now making a motion to strike all ALL discussion. You can't have it both ways, guys.
Oh, it's public comment and not along with minutes. I make a motion, fine. Cancel that motion. I make a motion, a new motion. That the minutes follow Iowa code, nothing more.
There's nothing in the code that really specifies exactly what goes in the minutes, Jacob.
Sufficient information.
Well, we don't want discussion. I've already done this. We've already voted on this, but ignore.
What
We did this.
part of discussion?
Why do we need a motion? We don't need that.
Well, here's the reason we did a motion, because we're trying to get something done, and it's not happening. We have to get someone on the record. So we have to end this crazy.
To me, you're not trying to get anything done, you're prolonging everything.
Yes, the discussion is extra, and it also.
So if we just say that we're striking all public comment from the permanent record.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Yeah, public.
Yeah,
comment.
so if we make a motion,
Public,
please
all public
Yeah.
comments,
strike all public comment from permanent public or from permanent record.
and that leaves everything else alone. Because if you have a legitimate discussion on one of these issues, you want that to be a part of your record. You have to have that part of your record.
Yeah.
If you start adding, strike all discussion, you guys are going into an area that you do not want
That's
to
why
go
the
to.
wording matters. And we think about the wording right now.
Wording matters,
We're gonna hurt.
and listen to somebody who knows that.
Well, you know what? Let's just forget this right now. We already did this back in January. Let's go back and look at the wording we used. We already have a motion that's been passed. See if that needs to change. We've already done this, taking away discussion of the minutes from public comment. Did I say that right? And discussion between board members is also, unless it's extremely objective in dollars and cents, dangerous. Because every board member, every person I talk about is, you discuss one way, vote another. That doesn't make sense. You discuss something and not vote, in 20 years now, they say, well, that's.
But I
wrong.
do think
It doesn't make
though,
sense.
yeah, and I do think though that if you just, so we took out all this public comment, but if we had the stuff that we're dealing with the resolutions and things like that, and we're discussing, that makes it way simpler to go back through and edit and vote and discuss between us what we think is important to be in there. And if Judy feels very passionate about something she said and she wants it in public record, then those things, I don't have a problem with being in there.
We'll have to add our comment back.
I apologize real quick and then I'm done, guys. Tonight's meeting. Part of your discussion was using funds or not to use funds to fix boilers or to use them on a mile and plus part of a road. Those are part of the discussions that we, as the citizens of Page County, should be able to see why that the roads are not, the boilers are, I mean,
Yep.
you can't take out that discussion that just happens. Because that is important to understand. It's gonna help me decide whether I want to vote for you the next time or not.
It has to be complete discussion. After discussion, it's not an accurate picture, but it's.
Yeah.
Give up, Brad, give up.
No, it has to be the whole story. Or the motion.
I agree, but that just, what I'm saying is that gets us to that point, when we discuss the minutes, then we're verifying that it's not half, or it's right or wrong.
If we get to vote,
And-
and that's what we used to do.
Right, and you get a say, you have a say of saying, well, I would like this be recorded in the minutes, because I think it's important. And we can discuss that, and if there's something like you're passionate about roads, and you wanna make sure, hey, I learned that such and such costs this much, and we need to do it, and you want that in the minutes. I would think. And I don't have a problem with that being in the minutes, but that's where we get a
We get to
control.
vote.
Yeah, we get to vote and we get to have that discussion.
We don't have to vote.
And maybe we don't have it right now, but that's the thing that we need to get to.
So we'll look at what we did in January. We do have a bunch of stuff.
Can I move to adjourn?
All right, well, I think so. We've got all our minutes done. We did June 8th, right? Did we pass that? Yeah. We did May 30th and June 1st. I will do these again next week. Okay. We have that done, and I guess the next thing on the table is to adjourn. That'd be great. Wouldn't it? That motion, Judy, you want to make that motion?
I did.
All right, seconded, we're adjourned. Thanks for coming. No, it's, you can get people, let's get it here. Okay. You can have the computer system, Todd Howard,
I'll take care of that.
Set the lights off. Okay, because they were left on last week. They were left on last week, and it was left, and yeah, and it was left unlocked. Now that door, I left it this time, yeah, so it's, yeah, all you gotta do is shut, yeah. So anyway, all the lights were left on in the hall and everything, so, yeah. Yeah, I think, what did he say to do to his computer? But he's gotta leave, said to leave his on.
Judy,
What?
since you want to be proactive, if I give you some updated numbers for presentation that I made back in 2016 on material costs.
No, I don't.
You know what?
And nothing.